Jurgen, it's always difficult against Burnley, but is that the result you'd hope for, the performance you hope for as well?
Yeah. Absolutely, because what you need is not like Burnley was never a game where you just were flying or whatever and can outplay them, or at least not for us. We always had to be ready for a proper fight, what we were today, in a really difficult game, because you saw these challenges with Barnes and Wood and Virgil and Joel. It's like I'm not 100% sure if that's all, if we are really going in the right direction with these kind of decisions. It feels like we go 10, 15 years back to when you say, okay, oh, that is the football we wanted to see or whatever. It's just too dangerous. You cannot really judge the situations. How you get up in the air, it's fine, but when you get down and they stand still in the defender, it's just hard. Let me say, the rules are like they are. I don't know exactly, but the thing is, you cannot defend these situations. How do you want to avoid these situations? They shoot them already. Pope is the first one, then me and Tarkowski the next one, and that's how it makes the game really tricky. You just have to be ready. That's not the only balls they play, but they are the most difficult to defend. And we scored 2 goals. We scored a wonderful third one, which was offside. That's fine, but I love the pass from Harvey to Mo anyway. We could have scored, Sadio could have scored 1 or 2 more. So that's the game you play, and in the end you win it 2-0 and it's all fine.
The idea is to let the game flow a bit more, isn't it? That's the plan. But we've seen a lot more contact. We've seen more contact in the box. We've seen a lot more of that. Is that a good thing for the game?
I think so. I think all started with when we changed the rules like 20 years ago to protect the players. So more contact is always, the player cannot judge when you are in the air. You cannot judge you have no influence. You're in the air. You had a ball, but the player is in you. You get on the floor again. Your leg is not in the right. I don't think it's right, but I cannot decide these kind of things. But I heard that we want to let the game flow, but it's always like this. Now we have these situations. We had I stick to it. The first goal from Brentford, they did brilliantly, but on the second goal from Brentford, it must be a foul. You cannot clip the arms. You cannot clip the arm of the goalie and then say, oh, that's football. So these kind of things. But it's all fine. We just have to. We need to get used to it. But I think we have to think about it maybe a second or a third time. But it's always like this. There's one message now: let the game flow. And now nobody knows exactly what does that mean. Obviously, that's fine. There's no foul anymore, and this kind of things. It's always like it was. But I'm not sure. So I like all decisions in favor for the offensive team. That's fine. Like offside now, and this kind that we get back to that. Yep. Or in doubt that you don't know, then the striker is right. So these kind of things. But we have to stick to protecting the players. We cannot deny that completely and say, well, that's a challenge. I love watching that. Then watch wrestling. If you like these kind of things. Just
to get to the positive stuff then, Diogo Jota is a very clever player. That was a very clever goal in the first half. He just finds the space.
Yeah, but I have to say, without the cross of Kostas Tsimikas, this goal wouldn't have happened, obviously. So yes, it was a great movement, but it was a great cross as well. And yeah, Kostas in these moments, he's obviously ice cold, and that helps massively. How I said, we played in a lot of moments a brilliant game, but we didn't score. That's when these kind of things you forget after a game. But in all the other moments, we had to fight incredibly hard. Burnley had a really good start in their way. And so, but again, we won it, and nobody got injured, all good.
Nobody got injured, that's good. Thanks, Jurgen.
Thank you.
Well done, Liverpool. A good win for them today, as you can see. The weather might have changed slightly since the full-time whistle went. It's lovely being pitch side today, isn't it, boys?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Gorgeous. Don't forget, BT Sports Score follows straight on after us, so hopefully it'll be raining goals all afternoon, as it was last weekend in the Premier League, and we'll keep you across all of that. But let's just run through the sort of story of the match, really. And the Burnley players are not too happy, warming down in the driving rain just behind us, but they started the game so well, and when Liverpool got their opening goal, it was just in that spell where Burnley were enjoying themselves a bit, wasn't it?
Burnley got out, and Burnley was, what we expected. They were solid. They got behind the ball. They made it difficult, and they broke from there. And Dwight McNeil was excellent. His delivery was causing Liverpool problems, but then Liverpool just got control of the game. Harvey Elliott got on the ball. Salah and Mane started finding pockets, and then all of a sudden it became a bit more controlled possession, and they found that the opening goal come from a lovely cross from Tsimikas and Jota with some lovely movement, and then it was open then, and the game was a bit more spread. And here's the goal. They worked him into a great position. crouch, didn't they? And this is where they need to be crossing it. But Jota just gets a lovely movement. Beautiful header.
Yeah, it was a great bit of movement from Jota and a fantastic ball. But doesn't matter how tall you are. They've got big centre halves, Burnley. Doesn't matter how big you are. When you've got that dynamic movement, you get across the front of defenders like that. It's undefendable.
Yeah. And you could see the frustration in the Burnley defence when that one was scored. Let's have a look at 2-0, because I think the thing to point out here is the role played by Trent Alexander-Arnold. Before we see the goal, the two of you were just purring with his overall performance today. Steve named him man of the match as well.
Yeah, we were up, weren't we? And I think if there's anyone, he's been talked about playing in central midfield, and if you know that today, I mean the pass, I mean how has he even drifted in there in the first place? It was a beautiful pass and a tremendous finish from Mane.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about him playing centre of park. One thing, when you're a fullback, you don't like that position there where you pick up and you've got your back to goal. But Trent's so comfortable in there. And as it comes in from Harvey Elliott, just have the vision just to turn it round the corner with a little bit of spin. You know, it's unbelievable. And you look, he's already on the move. Once he plays it, he's already on the move in case Mane needs to play it back to him. Yeah. Fantastic performance.
Where he is there in that central midfield role, like a lot of the season we didn't see him there last season. I don't know whether it's Van Dijk's come back and he feels more comfortable going forward and staying there, but he's staying in that position just behind the front there, as you know, in a number 10 role. And what a beautiful pass that was, a tremendous finish.
I think you've hit it spot on there, because I think having Van Dijk in, that reassurance today, because him and Matip were exceptional, and it frees up Trent just to find pockets and the movement in front of them. I think last year they was always a little bit concerned what was going the other way. Now they're not. They leave them two at the back, and they had a hard day today, because Barnes and Wood are difficult to play against. Yeah. But they just took care of them comfortably, pushed up in the unison. Must have caught them offside at least 10, 12 times. They was exceptional at the back as well.
And in some ways, you need to play him in midfield, because if you play him where they play him today, you get him in that position playing well, plus you also get the benefit of him roaming central as well.
Yeah, but like you say, I think that having Van Dijk back and Matip again today was pivotal, because he, as Joe said there, he gets the freedom to play in there. I like him out there on the right. I mean, many people talk about he could do a job there, definitely, but I just feel like he gets more time to pick those killer passes, and he's so good at it. It was a joy to watch at times.
For Liverpool, Crouch, I wouldn't change his position. He's been exceptional. But I'm just thinking on an England perspective in the future, because we're so stacked with right backs. But Trent has to play because of moments like that, quality like that. There ain't many players in the league with that ability to execute it.
You two under your umbrellas is TV gold, by the way.
Yeah, Wally's.
Look at that. I mean, that shot there is as entertaining as the match, right?
Leave it out, Tree.
You're a Wally with the body as well.
I just love the way you hold it right there.
Do you like that?
There's not a single raindrop getting on Crouchy's head. Right. Let's get the thoughts of Jurgen Henderson. He's talking to Des. Here's what he made of today's win.
You've waited a long time to lead the team out in front of a full house. Was that the performance you wanted to give them?
It was the result. But no, I think, performance was good at times. There's still places where we can improve, of course. But overall, we're delighted, fans are back. It was great to have them back, and it gave us a lift, and we got the result in the end, so that's the most important thing.
Yeah, when they're there in a difficult game, because it was a little bit tricky at times, does that help keep the focus as compared to last season when it's empty stadiums?
Yeah, it keeps you going at times, definitely, the emotional side of it. And Burnley were a good side. They make it difficult. We knew that before the game, and they certainly did that with the set pieces and the long balls in behind. But I thought overall we dealt with it quite well, and we could have scored more goals if we're being honest.
And, well, speaking of the goals, Diogo Jota, he has the magic touch at the moment. He seems to be able to ghost into space and find it.
Yeah, he has. He has got the magic touch, and he's around the box. He's lively, and he manages to make the right runs, and when he gets in front of goal, he normally scores. So he's been outstanding since he's come back, and hopefully he can continue.
He stepped it up in the second half, the first half of the second half, I should say, and there was a little sense of relief when Sadio Mane got that second goal.
Yeah, I think the second goal is important in the game. You know, if it's 1-0 in the last 10 minutes, they're going to go long and get set pieces in the last 5-10 minutes. So then it can be really difficult. So I think the second goal was big for us to sort of kill the game a little bit, and that was an important period in the game.
If you're to challenge for the title of the season, as I assume you will, does Anfield have to become the kind of ground where other teams are now again scared to come here?
Yeah, always Anfield. People not like to play. I'm telling you now. I've spoken to players.
Slipped away a little bit last season, though, didn't they?
Yeah, but without the crowd,
Exactly.
it's different, totally different game. You know, football was totally different last season with no crowd, not only at Anfield but in general. You know, so yeah, I think now we've got the fans back. It's a different ball game, and hopefully we can keep our fortress, if you like, and teams won't like coming here, and we've got to make it difficult every time they do.
Thanks very much, Jordan.
Thank you.
Interesting, isn't it, when we stop talking about the crowd and the impact because the story moves on, actually how it affects certain clubs as the season goes on. We saw last season some teams like Liverpool didn't benefit from the lack of a crowd. You could argue other clubs perhaps did.
Yeah, for sure. And Jordan hit the nail on the head there straight away. In this club in particular, because this crowd does get behind its team and it does influence referees and it does lift the players. And today you could see that. They didn't really need it today because I thought on the pitch they was in control for the majority of the game. But there will be moments here this year at Anfield when Manchester United come here, when Chelsea come here, and the crowd are going to lift them and it's going to be red hot. Today, early morning in the rain, it was good, but later on in the season it will be even more of an influence.
Well, that man had a decent game today. He wasn't the only one. Harvey Elliott, I think when you look at the way he played today, it's an example of the importance of going to the right club at the right time on loan. And if you can get a whole season under your belt in the Championship, it equips you for coming in.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of it. I went out on loan and it benefited me so much when I was a young player. He's gone out on loan, he's done the right thing, he's gone out and he's got games. And what I'd say today is, you know, he's an 18-year-old kid. This was his Premier League debut. He played as if he'd played 100 games. He didn't look out of place at any point. He was comfortable in possession. He's gone out on loan at Blackburn. He's played games and he's got a lot more confidence. And he's someone that we heard about at 16, 17. And it's easy to forget that he hasn't made his Premier League debut yet. So for that to go under the radar, he looked like he'd been there for a number of years. I can't pay him a higher compliment. He's going to be a big part of Liverpool's season this year, I think.
Yeah, what he done today was a lovely link between the midfield and the back, because he's got what Jurgen Klopp likes. He's got legs, he can move. We see him there running into left-hand channel, but he's got lovely technician. He can turn the ball round the corner. He plays the ball into Trent. He was very mature today, and we've heard a lot about him. We've watched him out on loan in Championship. He had a fantastic season, and I think Jurgen Klopp will lean on him this year. He won't be a regular, but he'll be drip-fed into the team and he'll have influence in big games. It was a big show of faith from the gaffer today to put him in today. First came back at Anfield, but he played with such maturity and he covered the most ground on the pitch. Which an 18-year-old in your debut, you're going to, but it was more his quality on the ball that impressed me. I expected that, though.
They didn't shy away from getting on the ball, getting touches, and as Joe said, he was the link between them and the front, because Thiago and Henderson are probably sitting there, and he's just that little man not getting behind in the pockets and link it all up. Similar to Oxlade-Chamberlain before the injuries he had. He's going to be a big part this year.
Particularly when the Africa Cup of Nations rolls around and Mane and Salah go away. You're right about drip feeding him in, and he can do that now. But if he keeps performing like that, when you lose those big players to go off, it could be 6 or 7 matches, that's when he really gets his opportunity.
Well, that's it. I think he looks like a confident young man, and I think he won't be pleased about getting dropped after that performance today. He's got every right to start the next game.
What do you both make of Liverpool then? Only 2 games into the Premier League season, and let's be honest, they will face bigger tests than Norwich away and Burnley at home.
They answered questions for me today, because it's the first time I've seen Van Dijk in the flesh since his injury, and he looked as like a Rolls Royce, like he is. I think him and Matip together look so composed. Like I said, we talked about the transfer policy, and we talked about bringing in the players on the fringes like Tsimikas. Can he push Robertson? Robertson for me is the outstanding left back in the league, and he has been for the last few years. I think he's a fantastic player. But Tsimikas coming in today, and I thought he showed that he's going to. You want that when you're playing on the pitch in the big clubs. You need someone behind you. He'll be another one. He won't want to be left out after his performance today.
He played well.
So there's a squad's looking strong at Liverpool.
OK, what about Burnley? I mean, it was a difficult day for them. 3 shots on target, but the issue, I suppose, is that their second shot on target was in the 20th minute and the third one was right at the very end of the game. They had a long period where they just couldn't impact.
Yeah, but that's cases like this. You don't think that they're in the games, and possession it's not a problem. They give up possession 85%. They're not worried about it because they know that they'll get a set piece, and they're always in the game at 1-0. And they kept it that way for a while until obviously the second goal kills them. But they had chances at the end, and I don't think that's Burnley's season is not going to be defined by away at Anfield, you know, it'll be defined elsewhere. I think, we were saying it before, me and Joe, we think they'll be absolutely fine, no danger of relegation. I think they'll do what Burnley do, and I think they'll get some results, and I think they'll be fine this year.
It's nice to see a good old-fashioned wing player as well, like Dwight McNeil, isn't it? Yeah. Getting the ball down and running at people.
He looked like he'd gone on again. You know, without sounding to giving him a big up too much, he reminds me of Di Maria in his way, his movement, his body shape, and his moving away. He goes, listen, there's a long way to go to get to that level. But he's perfect for Daesh because his left foot's a wand. He puts it in the right place, and he was at it today. He's playing against a player, Trent, directly, who had an exceptional game. It's really strange because one was having a go, the other one was having a go, and I'd like to see him freed up a little bit more, you know, because he's got such skill, and Crouchy knows better because he's played with him. Yeah,
just honestly in training and stuff, like when it was a real eye-opener when I went there. I didn't realise quite how good he was until you see him training day in, day out. And it looks to me, again, like watching him play today, he looked fitter, he looked stronger, he looked quicker in some ways, but he's got a delightful left foot and he just glides, and he's a wonderful footballer.